Hello friends. So, today we are going to have a discussion on assessment of foundational numeracy, how the assessment may be made useful to the learner, useful to the teacher. But before assessment, you have to keep few points in mind. Number one is that every child is unique. When child comes to the classroom, child comes with a different atmosphere, different context, and that context is to be considered while we are teaching and while we are integrating assessment. When children are coming to the school or the class, they are not coming as they know nothing. They come with lot of knowledge with them, and that knowledge may be taken from the home, maybe from the society, maybe from the peer. So, every child is coming with different knowledge, and that is to be considered while we are assessing the child. Another very important point is that the progress in learning takes step by step. This is never having a jump that today learning is at level A and tomorrow learning will be at level B. This is a continuous process, and that continuous process is to be considered while we are assessing the child. Then assessment is to be made an integral part of day to day teaching learning process. It is not an activity which is to be conducted in isolation. So, therefore, friends, it is very important that while you are teaching, while you are making your teaching plan, make the plan for assessment along with the teaching. And then the assessment should support the learning of important mathematics to the child. And by important mathematics, we mean number one is that child should be able to apply whatever has been learnt in daily life, maybe about numbers, maybe about addition, maybe about shapes and so on. And second, logical learning. They should have thinking which lead them towards the reasoning, and that is very important, and that is to be assessed. That is important mathematics. While we have to assess a child, we have to use different strategies, and those strategies also to be considered which a child is using while learning. So, every child may have different strategy. Say for example, while adding two numbers, one child may count all, means 4 plus 5. So, child has started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Some child may count ahead, count on, and this count on means that when 4 and 5 are to be added, child may have an understanding that 4 has already been counted, after 4 I have to count 5 more. So, therefore, child may say 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, both of the children have different strategies. You have to keep this strategy in mind while you are assessing the child. So, child is not only to be assessed only for the end product, but to the processes also. Then observe the child and talk to the child. While child is interacting with other children, child is doing something, observe the child. When child is engaged in some activity, observe carefully what child is doing, how child is manipulating the objects and so on, and then second, talk to the child. Very important aspect is talking to the child. That will be a window to the brain of the child, to the thinking of the child, how child is thinking. When you will interact, when you will have questions, when you will interact with the child, child will tell you what is happening in his brain, child will tell you how he or she is thinking. Then very important aspect is feedback, giving feedback to the children that okay, this much you have learnt, let us now learn ahead. Instead of telling this has not been learnt, tell them what has been learnt and how it is to be used, and what are the activities which child is able to do, the task which child is able to perform, and the task which child is not able to perform. In many cases, almost all children will come up with their own understanding that okay, we have problem in this, we are not able to complete this task. So, feedback and then follow up. After feedback, see what child is doing, how child is progressing and so on. Then choose examples or questions carefully which should be from child's daily life. Because every child is having a different context. So, you have to use questions which you are going to ask the child, or maybe say for younger children the assessment should be totally verbal or maybe on observation. You have to use multiple tools and tasks for assessment, and this is very important because one tool may not fit the learning level of the child or the learning style of the child. So, therefore, it is essential that you should use, say for example, many tools like observation, you may use say maybe assignment given to the child, you may observe when child is talking to other children, you may ask questions and how child is answering those questions and so on. So, there may be many ways of assessing a child. Use all those assessment tools and tasks which child can perform differently, and you can have an assessment on them. Then development of model assessment tasks is very important as per the learning outcomes are there, because ultimately we have to assess whether child has achieved learning outcomes or not, and those can be assessed only when particular type of tasks are designed for the child, and those tasks may be the learning outcome same for every child, but the context is different. So, therefore, learning levels may be different. So, that you have to assess, and then question banks are to be prepared, and these question banks may be prepared with the help of the children. Children must be involved, engaged in preparing questions, not only the answers. When you are asking a question and child is answering, why a child cannot have a question and other children are answering those questions. So, this is very important activity. With this you can make your own question bank, children can have their own question banks. Then audio video tools are very important which can be created in order to assess the children. Then such assessment tasks are to be taken up which should be able to give me an exact idea of the learning level of the child, at what level the child is. So, as I mentioned, there are few tools. One of them is rubric. A rubric is prepared by the teacher on the basis of an assignment or an activity or then task, whatever is given to a child. Say for example, child is asked to prepare a chart by coloring, say for example, there are few shapes, triangles, rectangle, then square, then maybe an oval, then other shapes, and child has colored them differently, and child has then counted how many triangles are there, how many quadrilaterals are there and so on. So, if this task is given, then there may be many aspects, many criteria which you can fix up. Maybe the coloring may be one of the criteria, how the child has colored, drawing those shapes is another then counting is another aspect. There are maybe many criteria with this task. So, you have to make your own rubric, and another important part of rubric is that you can have multiple levels, multiple grades, say level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 and so on. Those levels you have to define as per the children in the classroom. Then rubrics need to be developed by the teacher in consultation with the students, that is very important. So, students should be engaged in preparation of their assessment tasks, how they should be assessed, how much weightage is to be given to colors, how much weightage is to be given to drawings and so on. So, children when they are engaged, they can do their own assessment or peer assessment also. The assessment of other may be done by the children or their own assessment can be done by the child. So, that is very important that children should be engaged in their own self assessment, that is very important. Then this will not be threatening. If a third party or third person is doing assessment, then there may be some fear in the mind of the child that I will be labeled and this assessment is say stressful to me, but when child himself or herself is doing the assessment and the assessment is only to find out the learning labels, as in this example you may see, then there may not be any threat to the child, and child may enjoy. If child is at level 1, child will strive, child will struggle to achieve level 2, and for that everyone in the class should help the child. In addition to teacher, the other children in the class must also help the child. So, there may not be this competition among the children. Competition of the child is with him or herself only. Today I am at this level, tomorrow I have to go to other level and so on. So, this competitive spirit is to be brought into the children, and but competition with self, not with the others. So, this example will help you and you can make your own rubric as you wish. Another important aspect of keeping a record of child's learning is portfolio. When in this portfolio we have designed the task maybe a period wise, date wise and so on, when child has entered the classroom, at what level on a particular aspect the child is, then after few days what happens, after few days what happens and so on. So, we are keep on writing, so that anybody who can who see, maybe the parent, maybe the other teacher or maybe the child he or she can read, or maybe the elder sibling, anybody can see how child is progressing. On first day where the child was, second day what happened, third day, fourth day, and you have to write down these days only the notable points. Not every day this record is to be, portfolio is to be maintained, but when a child has done something very extraordinarily different, maybe something very bad, something very good, something may be average, but you find that this is something different which child has done, note that point and keep a record of that in the child's portfolio. So, this portfolio even can be prepared online. So, the teachers who have facility of online assessments, online portfolios, they can even keep record online also. Then assessment checklist, very important. This gives idea about child's learning, how are they learning, and therein we are only putting up tick marks and crosses. The level at which child has achieved, we will say the tick mark is there, but the child which yet to be achieved, cross mark is there, and this will help us maybe after few days. Crosses will ultimately turn into tick marks. So, all crosses will in the end removed, and then there should be tick mark for every child. That is very important, that every child should learn, and ultimately we should not say that this child has not achieved the learning outcome. There may be slight difference in the level of learning outcome, level of achieving learning outcome, but every child should achieve, and that is very important which the teacher is to keep in mind, and this can be done only when this assessment is done continuously. So, friends, this video will help you in having an understanding of assessment, how it is to be done in classrooms with individual child, and second is that how record is to be maintained and how this record is to be used by you, by parents, by anybody who is associated with the child. So, friends, kindly go through the module and have your own understanding. Thank you very much for listening to me.